You ever have one of those neighbors who thinks the sun rises and sets just for them? That was Denise. She lived 2 houses down from me in what most would consider a peaceful lakeside community. We all had decent-sized backyards that sloped down to a wide, quiet lake, a rare find in our part of town. Most people here appreciated the serenity, except Denise. She didn't want serenity. She wanted control. Now, I've always been a guy who keeps to himself. I mind my business, mow my lawn, wave at the mailman, and enjoy my weekends without bothering anyone. A couple years back, I found out the lake behind our homes wasn't actually owned by the city or a neighborhood association. It was still technically private property, unsold land left over from a failed development plan back in the 2000s. After a bit of research and some paperwork, I did something Denise would have never expected. I bought the lake, the whole thing, every inch of shoreline, water rights, and the little plot of land at the far end where the old boathouse sat. It wasn't even that expensive, just buried under bureaucracy no one else bothered to dig through. I didn't brag about it. I didn't plaster "I own the lake" signs or anything like that. I just wanted peace and freedom. I started cleaning it up, fishing more, and built a small dock over a couple weekends, something sturdy enough for a kayak, or maybe a few chairs to relax in the evenings. But for someone like Denise, seeing me enjoy something she didn't control must have felt like nails on a chalkboard. The incident happened on a sunny Saturday, the kind where the light bounces off the water just right, and the breeze carries the scent of grilling from nearby patios. I was finally installing the last section of my dock. I had music playing low from a speaker, just some soft blues, nothing loud. I was proud of the work. The dock was solid, straight, and stained to match the cedar trim on my house. I cracked open a cold drink, sat down on the edge of the platform with my feet dangling above the water, and felt, for once, like I'd carved out something truly my own. That's when I heard it. The unmistakable slap, slap, slap of foam sandals against pavement, each step louder than the last. I didn't have to turn around. I knew who it was. "Excuse me," came the shrill voice. "Excuse me." I took a deep breath, turned, and there she was, Denise, storming across my yard like she owned the whole planet. Sunglasses perched like a crown on her head, arms flailing like she was hailing a cabin. "Manhattan, you can't just build something like that asterisk out here," she yelled, pointing at the dock like it was a nuclear facility. "Good afternoon, Denise," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "It's a private lake. I'm within my rights." Her eyes narrowed. "This is asterisk community land asterisk. That means it belongs to asterisk all asterisk of us." I stood up slowly and dusted off my hands. "Actually, that's not true." "Oh, really? Then why hasn't the HOA done anything about it?" "I'm calling them right now." I shrugged. "We don't have an HOA." That stopped her cold for half a second, but only half. "Then I'm calling the police. This is illegal construction. I'm reporting it." "You do what you have to do," I said, sitting back down. "Would you like some lemonade while you wait?" She didn't answer. She was already dialing, pacing in circles, muttering things like disturbing the environment and unauthorized waterfront development. It didn't take long. About 10 minutes later, a squad car pulled up near the street, and a young officer stepped out. He adjusted his belt, walked across my yard, and gave a polite nod. "Afternoon, sir," he said. "We got a call about some sort of construction dispute." Before I could answer, Denise came charging up, waving her arms like she was landing an airplane. "Officer, thank goodness. This man is building an illegal dock on shared land. It's not safe. He's disturbing the lake. There could be environmental damage." He refused to stop. The officer raised an eyebrow and turned to me. "Sir?" I pulled out my phone and opened the PDF I always kept handy, just in case. A full property survey, with my name listed as the legal owner of the lake and surrounding lots. I held it out. The officer scrolled through it slowly, his brows lifted. "Wait a minute. You own the entire lake, correct? Purchased at last year, everything from the fence line to the far shore, all properly recorded." The silence that followed was beautiful. The officer looked over at Denise, who stood there, mouth slightly open. trying to process the fact that the thing she thought she had power over was completely out of her hands. She opened her mouth like she was about to argue, but nothing came out. "Well," the officer said with a polite cough, handing back my phone, "seems like everything's in order here. As long as your construction doesn't pose a public hazard, which it doesn't, you're free to continue. You're on your own land." I smiled. "Appreciate that." Denise finally managed to find her voice. But you can't just own a lake." "Apparently," the officer said, "he can. And he does." He gave me a quick nod, turned, and left. Denise didn't. She just stood there, hands shaking, face turning red under her perfectly applied foundation. She looked like a kettle about to blow. "You haven't heard the last of this," she muttered. "I'll be here every weekend," I said, raising my drink to her. "Right on my dock. Feel free to stop by." She spun on her heel and stormed off, muttering something about lawyers and not being over yet. I watched her retreat through my yard, shaking my head. I knew then that she wasn't finished, not by a long shot. But neither was I, because if she thought calling the cops was going to scare me off my own lake, she had no idea what I was capable of. 2 days after the police incident, the lake was even calmer than usual, but I knew better than to trust that peace. When someone like Denise gets humiliated, they don't just walk away and let things go. They fume, they plot, and they wait for the next opportunity to reassert their imaginary authority. I figured she'd try something again, but I didn't expect how quickly she'd act or how desperate she'd look doing it. I decided to celebrate my small victory with a low-key lake gathering. Nothing extravagant, just a few buddies from work, some neighbors I actually like, and my cousin Ray, who brought over a grill and a cooler that looked like it was designed for a small army. We set up near the dock around noon. There were kayaks and paddleboards lined up on the grass, music playing from a Bluetooth speaker, classic rock. Easygoing stuff, and people were laughing, tossing bean bags in a cornhole game, and passing plates of burgers and ribs. Before the party kicked off, I made sure to put up a large, clear sign near the gate that led from the neighborhood to the lake. *** private property. Nitrogen monoxide trespassing, access by permission only. ***. I even laminated it and nailed it to a wooden stake like it was meant to be permanent. The message was simple. The lake wasn't a free-for-all anymore, and Denise wasn't welcome. Things went smoothly for the first hour or so. People were having a great time, and more than one neighbor asked how I managed to buy the lake. I kept it simple, just told them it was a smart investment, and most of them were supportive, or pleasantly surprised. Turns out, a lot of folks around here didn't like Denise either. She had a reputation for writing passive-aggressive notes, yelling at kids for riding scooters too fast, and reporting people for leaving trash bins out a few hours late. This party felt like a kind of unspoken rebellion. But then, just as Ray was handing me a paper plate piled with hot wings, I saw her. She wasn't even trying to be sneaky. Denise strutted right through the gate like she owned the place, sunglasses on, holding a floppy sun hat in one hand and a beach bag in the other. She had on a ridiculous flowy cover-up that fluttered behind her like a cape. You could almost hear the mental soundtrack she was walking to. Behind her trailed a small dog wearing a pink bow, its leash dragging as it struggled to keep up with her determined march. Everything stopped. Conversations died out. The music didn't even seem as loud. People turned and watched her make her dramatic entrance, some whispering, others exchanging amused looks. I didn't say anything at first. I let her walk all the way down the gentle slope to the dock, where she planted herself on a lawn chair someone had left empty. She crossed her legs, pulled out sunscreen, and started applying it like she did this every weekend. That's when I walked over. *Denise, I said, keeping my voice even. This is a private event. You weren't invited. She didn't even look up. I have as much right to be here as anyone else. This is the lake. We've all used it for years. I'm not going to stop just because you think you're king of the water. I held up a folded envelope. This is a cease and desist letter. It's been reviewed by my attorney. You are officially trespassing, and you've ignored a clearly posted sign. Leave now or next time. I'll file charges. She scoffed. You wouldn't dare. I crouched slightly, just enough so our eyes were level. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about a dock or a fishing pole. It's about you refusing to accept that you don't control everything. You thought calling the cops would scare me. That didn't work. Now you're ignoring legal warnings. What happens next won't be a conversation, it'll be a courtroom. She paused for the first time. Her expression shifted. The confidence cracked just a bit. She looked around and realized no one was on her side. In fact, several neighbors were standing with folded arms, watching, waiting. Not one person spoke up. For her, she wasn't intimidating anyone. She just looked out of place. Denise stood up slowly, brushing invisible dust off her cover-up. "This isn't over," she said again. But this time, her voice lacked fire. "You're setting a bad precedent." "I'm just enforcing property rights," I said. "You know those laws you love to quote when someone's mailbox is an inch too tall." Without another word, she turned and walked back the way she came, dog in tow. Head held high but steps uncertain. The gate clanked shut behind her. The moment she disappeared around the hedge, laughter erupted. Not mocking, just disbelief. "Ray handed me my plate again. Dude, that was legendary." I grinned. Let's hope she finally got the message. But the story didn't end there. 2 days later, as I was mowing the lawn, I saw a for sale sign go up in front of Denise's house. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But nope, there it was. Freshly planted in her yard, big bold letters, the whole works. She was moving, leaving the neighborhood she'd tried so hard to dominate. Word spread quickly. Some neighbors whispered about how she couldn't stand living next to that lake guy anymore. Others said she was furious that the one thing she thought she could lord over the lake had been bought out from under her. Whether she was embarrassed or just tired of fighting a losing battle, I'll never know. What I do know is that the silence in the following weeks was incredible. And me, I kept fishing every Saturday. I added lights to the dock, bought a couple of paddleboards, and even started renting them out to friends for fun. I planted native flowers along the edge of the water. The lake became a haven not just for me, but for people who wanted to enjoy it without drama. Sometimes I sit back on that dock, drink in hand, and think about how funny it is that all of this started with one woman's need to control something she never actually had any claim to, and how the best revenge in the world wasn't yelling, suing, or fighting. It was just owning what she thought belonged to her and never letting her forget it.